What are you playing?
Table soccer.
Oh, nice. Well, what's your favorite book?
The Outsiders.
Nice. What do you like about it?
Just the plot and the whole story, character development.
Nice. What's your favorite book?
The Outsiders.
What do you like to read?
I like to read a lot of poetry and fiction. I would say like my favorite author is Allen Ginsberg. I love Howl. It's probably my favorite.
What do you like about it?
I like that it's kind of revolutionary and radical. Like it pushes like a lot of the limits, I think, of a lot of people's comfort zones and value
In what
systems.
way? Can you give some examples?
Yeah, I mean it talks about, specifically in the poem Howl, it talks about like communism and drug use and just like queer life, and it does it unabashed and openly, and I really appreciate that.
Nice. And what's your name? Where do you live?
My name is Anna, and I live in Santa Barbara.
And what are you all about?
Well, right now I'm a student, so I'm going to school to be a teacher. So I'm majoring in English literature and minoring in creative writing and in a teaching program. So that's kind of what I'm about.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I think my favorite book was Scapegoat by Daphne du Maurier, a thriller about one guy that looks like another guy and forces them to exchange places, and he can't get back to who he really was. Daphne du Maurier is The Scapegoat.
I'm currently reading Hawaii by James Michener.
I'm hooked on the Walt Longmire series, set in Powder River Valley, Wyoming. He's a sheriff, and he's got a ton of books. Craig Johnson is the author, and lots of jokes in them, so they're fun to read out loud, and lots of adventures in the snow.
I think it's on TV too.
Yes, and I think there's 5 or 6 seasons on TV, and they were waiting for the next one.
Yeah.
And the TV show is quite a bit different than the books.
So, are they both satisfying?
Yeah, because I'm in love with Robert Taylor.
Anything else you read?
A lot, but you don't really read.
Well, thank you. And your name is, and where do you live?
Patty Van Dyke, and I live in Ojai.
Okay, what are you all about?
I'm a painter.
My favorite book is Watership Down by Richard Adams.
Why?
The first time I picked it up, I read it because it was about rabbits. And every time that I read it, I discover something new. It's a story that he started just telling his kids on a road trip, and then his kids were like, you need to write this down. And it's just amazing to me that he could come up with something so complex just on a road trip.
What's the name again?
Watership Down
By
Richard Adams.
Okay, and tell me about your business.
I am a jeweler. I do lapidary and wire wrapping, so that means I cut all of these stones. I take rough rocks and cut and polish them, and then I do all of the wire wrapping and all of the chain mail and everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the website?
BlueBoxImaginarium.com.
Here. What did you say?
I like reading cat mystery books.
Really?
That's always my favorite. So I just basically stay with that.
Like which ones?
Now you put me on the spot.
Okay, but are there a lot of cat mysteries?
Yes, there's quite a few, like 5 or 6 authors out there, and then there's more that have been coming about, and so I just really enjoy the cat mysteries.
That's cool. And what are you about?
I'm about peace and love and tranquility.
Very nice. You look it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm reading Don DeLillo's Zero K right now.
What's it about?
Well, it's complicated. It's about kind of a billionaire and his wife is terminally ill, and he is paying for a facility to ensure that she's gonna be able to live forever, because they're gonna suspend her body in like a cryogenic process. And
what do you like about it?
Well, so far I kind of just started. I'm only about 100 pages in, but I like that it deals with the philosophical issues of what our consciousness means and what it is to be conscious, sort of. So like if you die but they're able to preserve everything about you, will you still be you when they bring you back?
Interesting. That's a good question. What's your name and what do you do?
My name's Jacob Odenberg, and I'm a film editor from Los Angeles.
Okay. And what was the book and author again?
Don DeLillo's 0K.
Hey, thanks. Can we use this for library stories?
Sure.
My favorite book is The Little Prince.
Really? By who?
Yeah, by Exupéry.
Why?
Because it's easy to read and it's full of wisdom, and you have to read it again and again. It sounds like a children's book, but it's actually written for adults, and I think it gives you all the wisdom of the world in one little nice booklet.
That's cool. And who's did the art behind you?
The art behind me is basically the work of my wife and my sister-in-law, and they're doing patriotic corks.
Could I ask you about how would you describe it?
How would I describe it? Well,
is it made out of cork?
It's everything is made out of 100% cork other than the frames.
Facebook?
I tend to read biographies, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm very much of a biography reader, so I like to read biographies of pretty much anybody. I'm not really politically driven, so the flags have nothing to do with it, so it's usually not anything political. We're just having fun.
I read mostly history, and a little bit of philosophy, but history, typically world history, although my interests seem to change through life. You know, sometimes I'll be in Europe, sometimes I will be in the United States. Labor history had me involved for a number of years.
Labor history?
Labor, history of the labor movement.
It's not boring?
Oh, heavens no. It's anything but boring, labor history.
What's some of the stuff that was involved with it?
Well, the rise of the unions, and how they came about, the changes they made, and so much of that history is not taught in school. People just don't know about it. In fact, you asked me about favorite historians. Howard Zinn, said he was in graduate school before he read some of that history. And you see the continuity between the labor history, the civil rights movement, now the environmental movement. It's a continuous chain. So it's just all quite interesting.
Thank you. And what did you do for a living? Or do you do?
I actually worked for the insurance companies. For 20 years I was adjusting large fire losses, and in another 20 years I was rebuilding structures that had burned and got flooded by various...
And ironically, what just happened to you a couple months ago?
I lost my house in the Santa Rosa fires. I'm seeing it from a whole different side of the fence right now, and I much prefer the other side.
And what do you like about reading in general?
It just enlightens your mind. I mean, you don't know where you are or who you are or what the world is if you don't know a little history or philosophy. Why you believe the way you believe. Everybody just kind of takes that for granted. Well, that's the way it is. Well, maybe that's not. All this came about through thousands of years of evolution. The more you know about it, the more you can make up your own mind as to whether those beliefs are real or not. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living.
So while we're quite evolved technologically, we're not necessarily so evolved philosophically. Is that right, would you say?
I would say so, yes. And sometimes I think the technology is keeping us from that. We're not engaging with people like we used to. It's all in short bursts of text. And you really can't share a lot of ideas in that. And people seem to be staying into their little homes or their little shells and only engaging with people electronically and not coming together and engaging socially. I think that's a great loss.
Well, thank you. Nice to hear your thoughts.
All right, thank you.
And your name is?
Ray Height.
How do you spell that?
H-I-G-H-T.
So what's your favorite book?
Well, hey, Larry, I just wrote one. It's called Postcards from Liverpool, Beatles Moments and Memories. It's a collection of vignettes and rare stories about the Beatles. It has a bunch of my photographs in it.
What do you think people will they learn something about the Beatles?
I hope so. I sure learned a lot about the Beatles. I didn't know writing the book, and so wonderful group, wonderful sound. They'll be around forever, I think, in everyone's music's collection.
Well, what's one of the things you learned that was interesting about them, or that's in the book?
One of the things is that people, I think, have thought that the Beatles somehow were a phenomenon that happened suddenly and immediately. In fact, they played 800 live shows before they actually recorded their very first song, Love Me Do. They recorded 12 albums after that, and a number of singles that didn't appear on their albums at all. Here in America, we heard the songs on Capitol Records, but they were originally recorded on Parlophone, which is a UK label.
I'm going to get a shot of it.
I love the library.